Hello my friends and welcome, my name is Dennis and this is the latest update from Ukraine. According to the Institute for the Study of War, Ukraine might have damaged 5% of all of the Russian strategic aviation because of the recent attack. But the problem is that we are still waiting for the confirmation. There is no evidence that Ukraine targeted those airplanes. The satellite images of the Engels airfield haven't been published, but we have the images of Morozovsk Air Base, which as reported was also targeted by Ukrainian UAVs, and there is no any change. Here we can see the cloud shadow, that's it. Could it be the same for the Engels airfield? Well, we need to wait for the images. But something tells me that the chances are quite low, so the massive drone attack which occurred a couple of days ago wasn't really that effective, I would say, judging on the evidence. We got different information. Russia says that there were 53 of the drones. The Ukrainian side says that there were around 90 of the drones. I've took the Russian figure because basically it's still big. There were some of the ground kabooms report. Probably something important was targeted, but we don't have the real image of it. But it's just a first try, and I believe that there will be many more of those kind of the attacks happening in Russia in the future. Russia is boosting its military relation with their key ally China. According to the latest information from Bloomberg, China has begun providing Russia with satellite images for missile strikes, microelectronics, machines for the production of the tanks, so equipment for their factories, optics and rocket fuel. I thought that Russia has enough rocket fuel, so probably Ukraine hit some of the Russian rocket fuel facility during all of those refinery strikes. So this collaboration or cooperation between Russia and China intensified during the last couple of months. The United States Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen this week said that there would be severe consequences if companies, including Chinese, are found to be providing financial support to Russia and its military-industrial base against Ukraine. But still we say that China continued to support Russia. In this case we may say even directly. Why is China so interested in this support? Well, first of all, it's a dictatorship country, and I say that they tighten regulations for their people even more. Chinese leaders doesn't want to see democracy spread in their country. As an example, we have Taiwan with its powerful economy, with the same Chinese people and Chinese language. So China doesn't want to see that country any longer very close to its borders. So China is planning to invade Taiwan in future. At least for me, it is understandable that China is getting ready for it. If Russia was really successful in Ukraine, China would have started this operation in Taiwan well before, maybe last year or in 2022. China also sees that Western allies reduced the support of Ukraine, so it started to act more aggressively, supporting Russia, as I say to you directly. I do not exclude that they might send their weaponry to Russia. They had already sent golf cars. And if you check any kind of the video with Russian soldiers, they're all wearing quite a modern equipment, obviously made in China. Russia doesn't have those capabilities to produce that amount of the wear, including quite a nice pants with Kevlar inserts. I think that it is impossible to make those in Russia. So not good news, but it was expected to be like that. The alliance of dictatorship countries are now growing. There was a big interview of President Zelensky near to the defense lines in Chernihiv Oblast, the northern part of Ukraine. He clarified some of the information that I want to shout out to you just now. Zelensky said that Russia is planning to mobilize around 300,000 soldiers as they've done in 2022. But it's not the fact that it is the final number for the new mobilization campaign in Russia. Well, as we know, Russia started to mobilize their compulsory conscripts around 150,000 soldiers, but mainly those are not used in the full-scale war against Ukraine. Russia also rely on their volunteers, paying them a good salary. But they have less and less volunteers from the Russian people. That's why sometimes they hire people from Nepal, India, Cuba and other countries. But even they cannot cover the needs for the Russian army, so new mobilization in Russia is imminent. The Russian Federation already took some certain laws to make this process much more easier for them compared to the last time. So Zelensky is sure that it will happen. Zelensky also said that Ukraine is preparing a new mobilization law. I would say it is very similar to the Russians' law. It can make mobilization very fast, but we'll see. This law is not yet implemented, so Ukraine, in this case, as Zelensky says, needs to react to the Russian mobilization. But still, if Ukraine had more good weaponry, the less people would be needed for mobilization. He also said that the enemy is not going forward. 90% of all of the active combats are now going on the east. Well, enemy actually going forward. They have initiative, they take some of the ground, especially on the east. We may review military map for almost every day. Russia is taking the ground. Just a little, yeah, compared to the first year of the war, but they took initiative. So I wouldn't agree that in general they stopped, no. About the Kharkiv city, Zelensky said that it is secured, not from the air defense perspective, but from the ground invasion perspective. Just recently, Yermak, the chief of the president's office, Zelensky office, said that Kharkiv could be the next target for the Russian summer attack campaign, but here Zelensky said that Kharkiv is secured. Yeah, probably it is like that, because definitely Ukraine built some of the defense lines, as we may see on this image. As for the air defense, Zelensky said that Ukraine needs at least 25 Patriot systems or Patriot-like systems with 6 up to 8 launchers in every system to target everything that Russia sends to Ukraine. Unfortunately, this goal is unrealistic for the future years, I may say, even though that some of our allies like Germany is searching for new Patriot systems to be delivered to Ukraine. About the current air defense of Ukraine, Zelensky is very skeptical. He says that if Russia continue their strikes, and Russia will continue their strikes, we'll have enough air defense missiles just till the end of this month. No longer. So we need more missiles. Every Patriot air defense missile costs millions of dollars. Ukraine just cannot purchase those on open markets, let's say. We need the military support from our key allies. About the Ukrainian defense lines, Surovikin-like Russia built on the south, President said that building of those almost completed. However, I recently checked the map of the defense lines. In Avdiivka region, and those are very weak. About F-16s, this year Ukraine will have just 10% of all of the promised fighter jets. It means that they will not solve the situation with the Russian gliding bombs. All of the hopes for 2025. The military support of the United States of America, Zelensky agrees for any sort of the support, if it's going to be a Republican initiative or the current bill. Ukraine has absolutely no choice. It needs weaponry. In what term? In loan, lend-lease, direct help? I think we don't care. Also, we should actually wait French military in Ukraine. Those will be instructors. Zelensky said that he agreed with initiative coming from President Macron about deploying instructors in Ukraine. If they speak about it on this high level, I'm sure that France will send those instructors to Ukraine. About any sort of the peace agreements between Ukraine and Russia are now not possible. President Zelensky said about it many of the times, as well as the head of his office. There will be no compromise on Ukrainian territorial integrity. So the only peace agreement for Ukraine will be to return its territories back. But we understand that it's not real in the current situation. I would say even more, it is not possible for maybe many of the years ahead. It mainly depends on situation in Russia. If Russian regime collapses, obviously Ukraine will return all of its territories back, including Crimea. Sorry guys, I have quite a complicated throat problem. For me recording this video like for 10 or 15 minutes takes 2 or even sometimes 3 hours. Alright, Belarus also implemented a new law for their army men. Now they may conscript people via SMS notices. If Belarus men receive some special SMS, they should go to the Belarus army immediately. Maybe they are also preparing for something. Again, there was the strike on Ukraine the last night. Ukraine shut down all of the 3 cruise missiles and the most of the Shahid drones. Here you may see the trajectory of the drones. They are shown in blue, and the cruise missiles, they are shown in red. The main targets were Khmelnytsky, Kyiv, Kharkiv and Zaporizhia. The situation with the power in Ukraine is critical. Luckily, it is getting warm already, the middle of spring. Ukraine had lost almost half of the capabilities to produce the energy, so blackouts are imminent. They are happening in many of the major cities as Kharkiv, and probably the next winter will be very terrible for Ukraine. Ukraine is looking for critical equipment to repair its power plants, but even then those power plants could be targeted again, so we need more air defense systems. Absolutely great news from Estonia. They found another 1,000,000 shells for Ukraine. It is really a game changer for our army in 2024. The countries like Czech Republic and Estonia are just saving Ukraine this year. But at the same time, it's quite strange for me that countries with more diplomatic influence and more resources are just participating in those deals in some certain ways, and the main initiative is not coming from their side. Maybe it is a political game to do it in this way, I do not exclude it. Well, anyways, those news are fantastic. The Russian city of Orsk, do not misspell it with Orsk, went under the water because of the dam destruction. The dam was destroyed by time, so definitely many of the villages and the part of the city are looking like that. Even Putin wanted to visit the place today to show that he cares. Slovakian presidential elections, Fico's friend Peter Pellegrini is winning those. He is against the military support of Ukraine. He supports the mythological peace deals with Russia and other Orban-like stuff. Meanwhile, people in Budapest, Hungary are striking against Orban. The meeting was organized by the opposition of Hungary and more than 10,000 people attended the place. It's not the first time happening in Hungary, quite a good sign. Right, now let's go briefly to the front lines review. Russia took some of the ground in Verboe direction. They have this attack vector over here, so let's check out the timeline. To the history, it was yesterday and it is today. Advance taking this ground. So Ukraine is losing its gains achieved during the last summer. And we have the Russian advancement in Berdichi. They really reached this river. So it was yesterday, it is today. They occupied all of the village. So I wouldn't say that Russia is stopped. Yes, they are still able to proceed forward. Not that fast as they used to do it before, but they have at least the potential to occupy this part. And maybe they have the potential to go forward crossing the river. Anyways, we're gonna see during the summer campaign. Meanwhile, Russia continued to suffer tremendous losses compared to Ukrainian army. You might wonder why it is like that. Well, this video I shared on my Telegram channel. This is the Russian tank with some of the infantry on board. Just try to guess of how many people were on top of the tank and under the grill. 24 freaking soldiers. 24 soldiers on a single tank. The tank was kaputted later on and the more soldiers were lucky, they just started to run away from the place. If it wasn't a mine for the tank, but the FPV drone or artillery strike, Russia would have plus 24 infantry losses just for a single tank unit. It shows that they're in lack of the infantry fighting vehicles, so their new strategy is to use any sort of the vehicles to advance ahead. Even tanks for their infantry where they do not have any sort of the protection. And also don't forget the golf cars from China. Indeed, Russia suffered tremendous losses for the last couple of days. Their main attacks were stopped by Ukraine, but still they're able to take some ground here and there. Guys, if you want to support the job that I do on my channel, you may check out my Patreon page available in the video description just below, or you may just scan the QR code on the screen. Thank you for your kind support. A Ukrainian Azov regiment captured the Russian T-72B3 tank with a drone jammer equipment installed on the top. Well, it was working, but still it was targeted by the FPV drone. Russians abandoned the tank, and during the night time, Azov soldiers were able to go to the position and capture the tank. Now it will fight for Ukraine. So the tank was hit together with the Russian BMP. All of those vehicles were abandoned, but the tank was in perfect condition, just the top of it was targeted. So our guys took the tank even with some of the grill tuning. And here how they did it, they went to the tank during the night time, just turn on the engine and disappear from the place. Great. A great job from the Azov soldiers. Alright, this is the most powerful protection which Russia has ever implemented on their Buhanka vans. The devil Ukrainian drones will never hit it. The vehicle losses for the last 3 days: Russia lost 156, Ukraine 37. Just look at this scale. Russia is losing lots of the tanks, MTLBs, BMPs, as always. It's just crazy. It's just for the single day. How many tanks? This statistics is really based on evidence, on video confirmation from the place. Just look at the number of those tanks and BMPs just for 3 days. It's the army of some sort of the country. But Russia may still allow those losses. It looks so unreal, but actually it is true. Kind of the interesting vehicles Ukraine receives from Lithuania. Those are the American-made M577G82. Basically, those are the mobile command centers. Well, maybe Ukraine will convert those for the other needs, because the most of the surveillance is done remotely by the surveillance drones for artillery corrections and others. So maybe those will be turned to some sort of the ambulances to evacuate the soldiers from the front lines or to deliver the supplies. They also could be used as the infantry vehicles. The entrance is just behind. To other news, we have many of the reports that Iran is preparing to attack Israel in the coming hours or days. Almost all of the big media sources wrote about this stuff. I think that finally Iran will do it based on their own rhetorics. They might launch the strike using their Shahid drones or other systems directly on Israel. But after it, Israel will obviously respond too. So we'll see in the coming days or hours how it might happen. My friends, don't forget to press your huge like to this video. By doing so, you help me a lot. And as always, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.